Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Stillman and this class is Entrepreneurial Marketing. This class is different in its format as compared to most of the classes that I've taught previously, and it might be different from other classes that you've had. The main difference or the unique format that I've tried in this class is that you have quite a bit of choice in terms of what you will do for the course requirements. And you also have a choice in what order you will do them in. So it'll make a little more sense as we get into the specific project details. Okay, so you've got roughly 4 clusters of due dates. First one is May 29th. These are roughly spaced out over the course of the semester and approximately the same number of days in between them. So your first assignment is due May 29th. The day after that, you're expected to do a brief reflection on that. Now, one of the potential downsides of giving you total flexibility in terms of what projects to do and when to do them is that it's not going to show up on your to-do list in Canvas, right? Because everybody in this class, there's roughly 70 or so different combinations of things you could do and the order you could do them in. So it's not really feasible to have the specific due dates that show up in Canvas. Now these are the due dates, and I will be reminding you through Canvas announcements of these due dates, and there is just one penalty associated with being late, and that is a half a letter grade drop at the end of the semester. So if you're 15 minutes late and you have a good explanation, that's one thing. We can talk about that. If you just blew it off to the last second and you submit something late, at the end of the semester, I'm going to take a half a grade off. So you'll go from a B plus to a B, for example, and those will compound. And I want you to make a mental note of this because um, this will not be reflected in Canvas. And so if you're perpetually late over the course of the semester, come the end of the semester, Canvas will not provide an accurate reflection of what your accurate grade is. So the point is, don't leave this stuff up to the last bit of the semester and try to cram it all in. Pace yourself evenly over the course of the semester. There's been a couple things that I've added to try to facilitate this. One is halfway through where you start and when the next project is due, you will get a reminder in Canvas. This will show up as an assignment that everyone has to do, which is just for you to explain or show your progress halfway through one of the due dates. Big picture, main point, you're going to have to pace yourself. That is probably not a bad skill to learn at this point anyway, but you're going to have to pace yourself in this class in order to be successful. All right, so now we'll talk about the different projects you can do. I don't think I mentioned this previously, but most of the projects count as a project. Some of them count more or less. The order that I'm going in here is the order that they're presented to you in the syllabus, so you can read along at home. So the first one, this is a perceptual map. This is a very common tool in marketing, and this is also helpful for anyone who is interested in launching a business. One of my favorite phrases in marketing is that better is not better, different is better. And this is a helpful tool in understanding or developing a way that your product or service could be different from others. Now, this one has sort of a unique requirement to it, which is that you have to meet with me in order to get approval for this particular project, and I'll explain why, which is the last semester. So the idea for this project in particular is that you will be developing a perceptual map for a product or service that you want to develop or sell. Right? This is for our more entrepreneurial minded students. So the idea here is very specifically that this not be a pretend exercise, but that you actually can develop a marketing collateral that you can use as somebody who wants to develop or sell something, or perhaps you're already doing it. So the next assignment or project is to watch a series of videos. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head how many there are to watch. These are from the SUU Entrepreneurship Speaker Series, and these are some of the more standout entrepreneurial speakers. Among the things that these are selected for, so there are hundreds of options. These are selected in particular because they do a good job of showing the process of going from nothing to something. And that's sort of the core of creativity, and it's the core of entrepreneurship, which is that you essentially you create something. So there was not a business, and then there is a business, and that's um, it sounds, when you put it like that, it might sound easy. It's quite challenging going from nothing to something. And the speakers that I selected are generally speak to that idea of going from nothing to something. There's also an emphasis in these videos on SUU students, so you'll see quite a few former SUU students in these videos. Next option is entrepreneurial foundations. So some of these projects on a continuum, some skew a little bit more marketing, others skew a little more entrepreneurial. So for instance, positioning map is very traditional in the marketing literature. That's a common tool. Entrepreneurial foundations is a little bit more targeted to entrepreneurially minded students. And the best thing about this book is the author, Stephen A. Hitz. It is, from his perspective, very autobiographical. He tells his story and his wife's story. They had Steve at one point had over 1,000 employees nationwide. He's been extremely successful. He's also tried a bunch of things that didn't work, and so he's quite successful financially, very well to do. And if you met Steve in a million years, you would never guess that. He's just very down to earth. Um, in entrepreneurship, in particular, there is a lot of fake humble guys. Um, and Steve Hitz is not a fake humble guy. He is very much a very genuine, down to earth, humble guy. His book, to some degree, speaks to a question of faith. Steve himself is a what's the word for it? Pretty non-denominational in how he thinks about faith, and so this book is not narrowly targeted to any one specific group of believers, but it's worth acknowledging uh, that faith is a part of this book. But wait, there's more. There's more Steve Hitz. So Steve also created a an online course that is sufficiently different and distinct from the book that this is a separate project. It's actually, if I have this here, it is actually just a half a project. So you would need to combine this with something else in order to meet your deadline requirements. Um, so what else to say about this? Oh, it's worth mentioning that this was developed by an SUU student. Steve Hitz is genuinely interested and concerned about SUU students, and so he just had a student named Timothy Christensen develop this course this online course for him. That brings us to the zigzag principle. This book is also, well, I'll tell you, I think where this particular book excels is in plotting those first few steps on your entrepreneurial journey. So if, for example, you wanted to create a successful lawn mowing company or something, or landscaping company, one school of thought is you go get a loan and you buy the equipment that you're going to need for your landscaping company. And what this book would suggest is that the first thing you should do is go mow your neighbor's lawn, get some cash from that, and start to bootstrap. So take the income that you generate through your effort and put that into your business. And so this is a valuable perspective. In addition to there being um, some multiple choice questions that you would have to answer in order to get credit for this book, there are um, a couple of exercises as well, some kind of self-reflective kinds of exercises. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier. Most of what you're doing for these books is you will be taking multiple choice questions in order to gauge the extent to which you have understood and retained the information in those books. Now, obviously, for something like um, the perceptual map, there aren't multiple choice questions. You just submit a project. Definitely one of the easiest ones for me to recommend for this class is Contagious by Jonah Berger. Um, this book does so that the way I like to talk about this book is that a lot of times when you have a degree from a business school, doesn't matter what your degree's in, but especially if it's in marketing, people are going to ask you for advice on on how to come up with, some promotional materials. And a traditional marketing curriculum doesn't always do a great job in helping people come up with what uh, laypersons or people without a marketing education kind of understand as marketing, right? Most people outside who have not had a marketing or a business school education just assume marketing and promotional materials are the same thing. Um, this is an outstanding book at coming up with or helping you come up with ideas for promotional materials. And it's so the book itself is quite short, and so you will take a number of short quizzes. When you get to the end, there is an additional requirement, which is to produce some videos that bring together the elements from this assignment. Okay, the next assignment is the creative act, a way of being. This is worth 1.5 projects. This is a little bit longer than the other ones. This is also different in that this is a book, but there are not chapter quizzes in the way that there are chapter quizzes associated with the other books in this class. So um, instead of taking regular quizzes, what you'll do is you will create a live journal where this book has a very large number of very short chapters. There's 60 or 70, 68, somewhere in there, number of quite brief chapters. You read the chapter and you will react one chapter at a time. If you want to sit down and put your headphones on and go through one chapter at a time, um, so just listen to a chapter, react, listen, react, that's totally fine. Um, so I'm not after right or wrong um, answers. What I'm after is just evidence of you engaging with the material in this book. So the title is The Creative Act. Um, as I mentioned before, the essence of entrepreneurship is going from nothing to something, and that is a creative act. The subtitle is A Way of Being, and what Rick Rubin is suggesting is it's not here are some tactics and tricks to be more creative. What he's trying to cultivate is a general disposition in yourself towards your inner and outer life that facilitates or gives voice to the natural creativity that we all have inside of us. And the this book, uh, there are maybe spiritual or possibly mystical ways or elements to that to his thinking in this book. It's non-denominational, but I think it's very much worth your time. You might not even know who Rick Rubin is. Rick Rubin is one of possibly the most successful music producer of all time. He put a quite a large number of bands on the map, bands that had previously been unknown. And I'm going to try to do this from memory, but so bands like Slayer, Public Enemy, LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys. There are others, but off the top of my head, those were unknown until they worked with Rick Rubin. Other bands that you probably have heard of, there's an enormous list of bands that he's worked with. Uh, the Black Crowes, the Avett Brothers, Tyler Childers, Slipknot, System of a Down, I might have mentioned before. Anyway, uh, Adele is another one. Whatever, an enormous number of really successful musicians have worked with Rick Rubin. Last one, this is also a half a project. So, for instance, if you were to do, um, you could either combine this with another half a project credit to get your full credit, or if you wanted to do the Rick Rubin book and this one, that would be half of your expected work for the semester. That would be a total of 2 projects. This is a very short book, and I found it very inspirational. His ideas are really a lot about serving customers and behaving in a manner that will benefit your customers the most, rather than focusing on profits. His notion is more or less serve your customers well, and they will take care of you. Um, anyway, 40 lessons, 40 very brief chapters. And like a lot of books that I've assigned here, I think you come away with it with, I think you'll come away from the book better than you went in. Last thing is the syllabus quiz. So I've tried to give you a pretty good overview of my thoughts on the different assignments here. I want you to understand the expectations of this class, and so there's a syllabus quiz to make sure. So you will have to have watched and paid attention to this video in order to do well in the syllabus quiz. You'll also want to go over the syllabus. An important note here, 2 important notes. One is please get the exact version of the textbooks that that are described in your syllabus. Get that correct ISBN. Several books have multiple editions. Zigzag Principle has 2 editions. Anything You Want by Derek Sivers also has multiple editions. Make sure you get the edition that is specifically mentioned in your syllabus. You'll be glad you did, or more likely you'll be upset if you didn't. Okay, that's one important thing. Second important thing is most people don't watch this entire video. I appreciate that you did that. Here is an offer to the students who watched the entire video. You can propose your own entrepreneurial marketing project to me. This will really only work if you have a business of your own, or if you are ready to launch a business. If that's you and you want to do something that will directly benefit your entrepreneurial endeavor, set an appointment with me. reference that you found this Easter egg, and we can come up with a project that will help you, will meet your course requirements and will help you advance in your entrepreneurial journey. Last thing is, I really love my job, and it is, I'm always pleased to do it. So if you have questions, um, please, please reach out. There's a link in the syllabus to create an appointment with me. If none of those times work, feel free to propose a time that does work. Thanks for your attention, and I think we'll have a great semester.